Welcome to the Zono Sports Show, where you know Zonos. Now, today we'll be discussing just a few different little topics. There is a man with a golden helmet. He's a little guy, sticks his arm out. Everybody wants him at the beginning of each season, but does not finish with him at the end of the season. We're talking about the Heisman Trophy today, people. Now, that race is wide open like Walmart on Black Friday, okay? I've got a list of about 5 different individuals, including some hopefuls that are not frontrunners for that award that I will be discussing today. There's plenty of good teams. Traditionally, what we've seen in the past couple years is that award goes out to the MVP on the best team. So if your team is playing in the national championship, in the college football playoff, that'll give you a better shot to win that award simply because from what I've seen, that's how the committee does vote on that winner. Now, the first guy is the obvious choice, Deshaun Watson, the young gun from Clemson. He's a quarterback. Now, I remember a couple years ago, I had a buddy of mine, Morrell, that told me that young boy right there, he's going to be something. Deshaun Watson has become something. He's actually the first player in Clemson and FBS history to pass for 4,000 yards and also run for 1,000 yards. Now, that's a lot of offense that he's making up for. So as you do know, he makes a pretty good amount of the progress for that Clemson offense and gains a lot of those yards. Now, he did finish, I want to say, third in the Heisman voting last year behind McCaffrey. He is a better version of Taj Boyd. The reason I say that is because Taj Boyd, great quarterback, good leadership. You could tell his teammates liked him. He played with Vic Beasley back in the day. Taj Boyd, in my opinion, was always out of shape. Always ate a little too many cheeseburgers and drank a little too many milkshakes on Saturdays after wins. I think if he would have gotten in shape, he maybe could have taken Clemson over the top, got them in the national championship game, but I just think him being a little bit heavier throughout college really hurt that team. Now, this guy, Deshaun Watson, he's faster. He's got a much better arm. Deshaun also takes it a lot more serious, in my opinion. I'm not saying that Taj did not take it serious, but this guy, Deshaun Watson, from a youngster, since he's gotten to the program at Clemson, he has taken it serious. Come out of Gainesville High School, and the one thing I do like about Deshaun Watson, he reps his city. Gainesville, stand up. I do like that about a young man who's playing at college. He still reps his high school. Obviously, if he's wanting to do great for that individual community, he's going to want to do the same things for Clemson. So he's a great leader on and off the field. I really like him, but he's all about his city. So I like a hometown guy. Now, our second Heisman hopeful, obvious choice as well, Christian McCaffrey. He plays at Stanford. And obviously, we all know he's pretty fly for a white guy. You know the song. Now, Piano Man, you so fast, Piano Man. Now, he does play the piano. I've seen a couple Sports Illustrated and a couple ESPN specials on him. I've read a couple articles as well. He does play many instruments. He's got a sports background. His dad, Ed McCaffrey, played in the NFL with John Elway. He also won 3 Super Bowls. He's got 2 brothers that are 2 high school prospects that are largely being recruited across the nation. Also, he's got a mother who was great in soccer as well. So he's got a pretty rich history with sports in his family. Last year, he set the all-purpose yardage record over Barry Sanders. Barry, the game wasn't good to you. You retired too early. The game is not going to be good to you, sir. You cheated the game. We should have seen you play a little longer, Barry. That's why people like Mr. McCaffrey are breaking all these records. The game's not going to be good to you. If you cheat the game, we wanted to see you more, Barry. Now, Christian McCaffrey, he ran for 3,864 all-purpose yards. That's a lot of yardage. He was the runner-up as well for the previous year, which was last year, behind Derrick Henry for the Heisman, which I think in voters' minds puts him already in a driver's seat, per se, for the Heisman Trophy. Now, Dalvin Stir-Fry Cook, last year, early in the season, he did get hurt. I think that may have affected his chances of winning the Heisman last year and being competitive for that award because he was hurt throughout the season. However, when he did get healthy, he did still go to a second-team All-American level last year, which I really think helped that Florida State offense. Everett Golson, he really struggled last year at quarterback for them. I do wish him the best in his future football career, but it looks like him leaving Notre Dame really affected him. Dalvin Cook, great running back. He led the nation in yards after contact with 3.2. That was the most in the country out of all Power 5 conferences. Also, he had 22 rushes over 20 yards. So that means dude is chunking you every time. Clip, clip. That's 20 yards every time I say clip. So that's 40 right there. Now, I'll move forward to our quarterback, J.T. Barrett. He's also a Heisman Award watch list candidate. Now, JT, this is your team, bro. There's no Braxton. There's also no Cardell Jones. As you know, J.T. Barrett set a lot of passing records his freshman year. Came in and started when Braxton got hurt against San Diego State. JT, we've got to see you do more now. It's your team. This is your time to step up. You don't have to worry about that quarterback controversy noise. It's your time to show us what you can do when you're the man in charge. Your team, bruh. Now, also, there's no Zeke Elliott. We got to see you use the ball more. We got to see you run the ball and work the option game a lot better because you got a lot of new guys on offense, Mr. Barrett, but there's no Ezekiel Elliott. He's down in Dallas with the Cowboys. We've got to see you take it to another level. Can you do that with new players, with a new offense, a new running back? Can you do it? In my Gary Gaines Friday Night Lights voice. Now, also, he's got 11 career games with 300 yards of total offense. That's an Ohio State record. So obviously, this guy's a pretty good player for the Buckeyes. We'll just have to see if he can outshine what he's done previous years at the start of the season next week. Now, as we move along, Leonard Fournette. My boy. I like Leonard Fournette. He's a hometown guy. I remember the story last year where he actually had his jersey auctioned off for the Hurricane Katrina victims. Good guy, Leonard Fournette. I also remember that he did get shut down by Alabama last year. Before that, he was running for 200 yards a game against most opponents that he was playing, the Eastern Michigans, the Westerns, a lot of different schools. But once he ran into that roadblock called Alabama, it was crazy because they shut my man down. But you won't do that to Leonard Fournette 2 years in a row. I've said it once. I'll say it again. I'll say it a third time. You will not shut Leonard Fournette down 3 years in a row, let alone 2 years in a row. Period, point blank. He's a 200-yard club junkie, okay? He led the FBS in rushing yards, which was 1,200, and touchdowns, which was 18. And not to mention, this is a big factor, he does have a daughter. So people like that with kids at a very young age, they're hungry. Trent Richardson hasn't had a great NFL career, but I also remember seeing him with his daughter on TV. And I'm looking like, this guy, that's why he's that big. That's why he runs that hard. When people do have something more than just football to play for off of the field, it can sometimes give them a little added juice to what they're trying to do as a football player. So I just think that pure motivation coupled with his athletic talent and ability will surpass a lot of people's opportunity to win the Heisman. So I think Leonard Fournette will be right there at the end of the year, winning the Heisman, if not coming up into a close second. Now, lastly, I see Baker Mayfield, who's one of our favorites. He plays for Oklahoma. Mayfield Magic. He is an amazing player. I watched him last year. We were down in Nashville. I saw that Tennessee game. It went to overtime because late in the fourth quarter, they were down 17-3. Baker Mayfield puts on a show, brings him back into the game with Sterling Shepard behind that Samaje Perine running game, and got it done. Now, that is a quarterback that I think will make a difference because he's somebody that the team looks to when they're in trouble. They know he can deliver. He's shown it time and time again. He was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year when he was at Texas Tech before he transferred, and he's the reigning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. Also, he led his team to that playoff appearance. He didn't play very well against Clemson, but let's be honest about that. They did have great defensive ends, with one of them being Shaq Lawson in that game. Now, also, others to watch out for, from what I did research, Chad Kelly, don't like that pick. I don't think he's got enough without having Laquan Treadwell. Also, I don't think he has a defense to back him up. Nick Chubb. I don't think Nick Chubb should be on this list for Georgia simply because he's been hurt the last few, I won't say years, but he got hurt last year. He tore that knee up. on a non-contact injury. I don't see Nick Chubb being somebody who's just going to jump out into a Heisman front-runner race because they've got so much talent that's in the SEC East. I don't think he'll have that opportunity to win that award over a Tennessee because they won't get further. I think Tennessee will win the East, and I don't think Georgia will get further than their regular season opposed to just a bowl game, not really any playoff appearances or post-game appearances such as the SEC Championship in Atlanta. I've got to see Nick Chubb healthy. Royce Freeman for Oregon. Royce, your defense is not really good enough to actually be able to win this award. As I stated previously, you have to have a good team for your opportunity and chance to win this award. I don't think Oregon will be right there as a playoff competitor at the end of the year because I just don't think they have the defense. They give up way too many points. I think they'll go maybe 9-3, something crazy like that. They'll get into a great bowl game, Alamo Bowl, Advocare Bowl. They'll get into a nice bowl game, but they won't be playing in the playoff, which I think will trump Royce's chances. And Jabril Hot Sauce Peppers from Michigan. I like Jabril Peppers. I've mentioned him before. I think he will step it up for Coach Harbaugh today. He's a 5-star recruit. He'll be a junior this year. As I've stated before, he is someone who I think revived that program at Michigan. I do think he's the best thing since sliced bread, a.k.a. Charles Woodson. He's a Hall of Famer, just retired from the Oakland Raiders. I do think Jabril Peppers has that opportunity to possibly win the Heisman because he can do so many things, because he can impact the game. The last defensive player that I think really had that smash mouth impact on that side of the ball, I'd say it was Glenn Dorsey back for LSU. Glenn Dorsey was someone at defensive line just was in the backfield every play. And I mean, if you look at a national championship game, he essentially shut down Beanie Wells. Beanie Wells had to bounce it outside, and you had those fast DBs coming up and closing every single time. So I do think Jabril Peppers has a chance to win that award. Now, my comeback player of the year, Kenny Trill Hill. He has just transferred to T.C.U. within the last year. He did have to sit out last year. He went from Texas A&M to T.C.U. He was named the starter actually yesterday on August 25th. He was named the starter. He's a good player. He's got a fresh start. Now, they've got a trail mix of play calling at TCU. I think Gary Patterson, his offensive staff, will mix the play calling up, give Kenny Hill a chance to maybe use his feet as well as his arm. Speaking of trail mix, let's not hope he gets ahead of his walnuts this year, okay? Now, I say that because 2 years ago when he was playing for Texas A&M as a freshman and was really balling out, what ended up happening was he had a great 2-3 first 4 games. His parents even went as far as to copyright the name Kenny Trill. Slow down, big fella. It's just a name. You can make a lot more money in the NFL than patenting a name. Don't get like Johnny Football and just run out here and do it because you wear a Texas A&M uniform and you're an okay Texas A&M quarterback and they're talking about you in the month of September. There's 3 months in a season. September, October, November. Where are you at in December? So you've got to fix that up, okay? You've got to worry about just football. Don't worry about the accolades, okay? That was a Johnny Football trap, in my opinion. Don't fall into that trap. That was my boy. I've always liked Johnny Football, but we see where he is now, okay? He's also got a better defense at TCU. They've had a top 10 defense in the nation the last few years under Gary Patterson. That is something they do not have at Texas A&M. So when you've got that defensive presence and you know you've got people that are behind you who can back you up if you make a bad play, such as turn the ball over or throw an interception, it takes a lot of pressure off of a quarterback to know that they can just play football and don't have to worry about outscoring the opponent because their defense can't stop a cold. Now, our unofficial sponsor, Indy's Chicken, 3-piece dinner box of questions. I will address that now. Our first question from a loyal viewer, Mr. Marcus Gallagher. Do you think Clemson's overusing Deshaun Watson, and will he make it through the season with that knee problem he had last year? Now, I want to say, Marcus, that knee problem was 2 years ago. I do think he'll make it through the season healthy. He had a great year last year, took his team to the championship game, actually performed very well in that championship game against the SEC big dog in Alabama, defending national champs. I do think Clemson has done a great job of managing his carries and having him run the read option but not take as many hits, trying to get him out on the edge. And he's been smarter about getting out of bounds and protecting his body. So I don't think they're overusing him. I don't think Dabo will overuse him. Now, we'll just have to see because he is a junior. He will be eligible to go to the NFL next year. And will we see Clemson use the rest of that toothpaste by squeezing it out of the bottom of the bottle, or will we see them still run their offense and not try to get as much as they can out of Deshaun Watson? Because, as I said, he's a leader. He'll give you as much as he can give you, but I think Dabo is a good coach and will manage him effectively, okay? Now, your second question. Jacob Eason having so much hype and such a strong arm, do you see him throwing a lot of interceptions, forcing the ball? Now, Jacob Eason, he's a quarterback for Georgia, came in with a lot of hype. Now, under Kirby Smart's a guy from Alabama, okay? Kirby's going to yell, get in your face. He's not as chill as Mark Richt. I think Mark Richt is just a cool, sit-back guy like King of the Hill. He's Hank. He'll sit back and let you do your thing. But however, Kirby Smart's going to talk a little bit more. He's more of a Boomhauer or maybe a Quagmire and yell at you a little bit and say a few different crazy things to get you to play hard. Now, will Jacob Eason respond to that pressure? Because I think Kirby Smart, with him, even though he's young, Jacob Eason, he will put pressure on him at a very early age to come in and be a star right away, because Kirby Smart, I don't think, is wanting to wait. However, I do think there will be a developmental process for his entire team because he is new, because he does have to get his players in there. So we'll have to see how Jacob Eason does do under Kirby Smart. Also, you did ask, do you see him throwing a lot of interceptions, forcing the ball? A lot of freshmen, they want to come in and make an impact right away. I've mentioned Lamar Jackson, first play last year against Auburn, threw an interception in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. Jacob Eason, it just depends on how this guy is. If he wants to go out and prove something and he's forcing the ball in, of course, college is a lot faster than high school, so there may be an instance where he could force some tight throws and get some early turnovers, but I think as the season progresses, he'll grow and develop into a seasoned quarterback, okay? So thank you for that question, Marcus. Also, we would have a third question, but I need you guys to send me some stuff in, okay? We only have 2 pieces of chicken in that dinner box today, so that, I guess, was our Indy's unofficial sponsor 2-piece dinner box of questions today. I needed 3. We're missing a piece of chicken, but hey, I'm trying to watch my weight and my cholesterol, so I don't need that third one. Next show, we'll be talking about the playoff and championship predictions that I do think will occur. That will be in our Sunday show, and as we get into next week, we'll start discussing key matchups. Also, we'll talk about coaches to watch this year who are new on their campus, or coaches that potentially could be on the hot seat this year as well. Check out aycplayersassociation.com. The 10th annual Cobb County All-Star Game is December 17th. Friend of mine, Mike Ciano. Definitely go online to that website and check that out, please. Also, subscribe to me on YouTube. Check out the Zono Sports Show. If you want to know, make sure you stay up with Zonos, okay? It's been great talking to you. Have a good one.